Hello, everyone. Oh, oh, was it the Chicago Bulls?
The beginning
Okay.
of the end.
There you go.
Yeah. The beginning of the end. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad right now. Yeah. I really hope none of my friends that are Laker fans watch this because this would be so bad. I know it because I've seen it so many times.
Because this would be so
It's
bad.
in my head. I can see it. Lower Marion.
I wish you'd asked me what high
I
school
know
you
it
went
because
to.
I've seen it so many times. Because this
Marion.
would be so bad.
In Philadelphia.
Lower Marion.
Blue jersey.
I wish you'd asked me
white
what high school you
outline.
Marion.
In Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Blue jersey.
Oh crap!
White
outline.
Marion. In Philadelphia. No, but there's a blue one
Oh,
also.
crap.
I'm gonna start shop now.
Yeah.
I don't know. 42. I
Yeah.
can't remember. I don't know. 42.
33.
I can't remember. I told you earlier I am terrible at trivia. Absolutely terrible. I told you earlier terrible at trivia. Absolutely terrible. 18. Was it even the Sixers? There you go. Was it? There you go. Was it? Oh, the steak. Kobe steak. And then his dad was Bean, Kobe Bean Bryant. Kobe steak. And then his dad was Bean, Kobe Bean Bryant. No question, the Los Angeles Lakers. No question, the Los Angeles Lakers. Well, Adrian actually reminds me of my first memory pretty often because I apparently forget it a lot because I have bad memory. Hence why I'm bad at trivia. Pretty often, but I think it was in the because I have bad memory. Hence why I'm bad at trivia. Probably the reason I don't remember is because I was so focused on the fact that I hated these pests called mosquitoes in Florida. Probably the reason I don't remember. I was in a luau, an opening thing at Ave Maria, and I guess I went up to Adrian and I was in a luau, introduced myself, which was apparently not very normal. Because went up to Adrian, can't be friendly anywhere. Introduced myself. Just kidding. Apparently, and not very normal. From there, but I think Adrian can be friendly. Reflect it a little bit better, but I do. It was that I actually do picture it a little bit better now. But I think Adrian can probably reflect it a little bit better. But I do. It was that I actually do picture it a little bit better now. But it was this luau at first thing. But I remember that, but I avoided that, but you guys were getting destroyed. I remember that, but I avoided that, but you guys were getting destroyed. Yeah, that was literally like my first impression of Florida. It was like a bonfire suite, mosquitoes, what the heck, humidity, wow. That was literally like my first impression of Florida. Like, it was like a bonfire suite. Literally trying to kill me day one. Mosquitoes, what the heck, humidity, wow, and also fire ants. Like, Florida is literally trying to kill me day one. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We also played a lot of basketball. With we also played a lot of basketball. It's in my closet. With are we gonna do that right now? I do. All right, here we go. It's in my closet. I'm gonna have to throw my wife under the bus a little bit here. I'm gonna have to throw my wife in my closet, so I don't know where everything is. Oh, under the bus. I know where it is, but under the bus a little bit here to recently unpack some stuff, so I don't know where everything is. Oh, I think I know where it is, but it's gonna require me to unpack some stuff. So.
Yeah, I think it was our first year. Yeah, I think it was our first year. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah, I remember. Really warming up for those things. I was like, get really game ready. Yeah, I remember. Really warming up for those things. Can we come in with like music one time too? We had like, oh, we played our Toon Squad intros. Can we come in with like music one time too? We had like, oh, we played our Toon Squad intros. I was like, you're missing that one. But I was about to say, I think one of the coolest part is I think prior to household life, I was like, we got along. Like, but I was all these things that common interests and similar goals. I think one of the coolest parts is desires. I think prior to household life, with that along, and our brotherhood and our household, which is kind of that. I mean, I'm sure. Oh yeah, it's but I think with that and our brotherhood and our household really had that virtuous centered friendship slash art is virtuous, really centered Christ in all our friendships. I think that really helped with just virtuous centered friendships, transforming our friendship from just like really a normal friendship to one where I think that really was based on Christ and how that meant for us, transforming our friendship from just like a normal friendship to one where it really was based on Christ and how that meant with just help for us forming that relationship, transforming our friendship from just like a normal friendship to one where it really was based on Christ and how that meant for us forming that relationship. Based on Christ and how that meant for us forming that relationship. Based on Christ and how that meant for us forming that relationship. Based on Christ and how that meant for us forming that relationship. Based on Christ and how that meant for us forming that relationship. Based on Christ and how that meant for us forming that relationship. Based on Christ and how that meant for us forming that relationship. Based on Christ and how that meant for us forming that relationship. Based on Christ and how that meant for us forming that relationship. That I was. I
Born and raised Catholic my entire life, as far as I can remember. That I was.
Mm-hmm.
I
was
born and raised
in
Catholic
Anaheim with my
grandparents,
as far as I can remember.
And then moved to Yorba Linda and been going. Been here
grew
ever
up
since.
in Anaheim with my grandparents at first,
And then moved to Yorba Linda and been here ever since. Yeah, I would say that my grandparents in particular are very devotional and service oriented.
I would say that
and very just faith filled.
My grandparents
they really spent a lot of their time around church. My grandfather's been a knight
service oriented
and very just
forever,
and he's actually created a lot of the different knights orders in Guam, which is where my father was in a knight. And so when he came here, he quickly joined the knights and created a lot of his way of connecting orders to
Guam, which is where
to this area and to California.
And so when he came here,
Orange County,
quickly joined.
My grandmother is also super faithful, praying rosaries all the time
to this area.
Has always kind of had God as kind of her backbone.
My grandmother is.
All
also
my other
super
family
faithful,
hasn't always been very filled with the faith. I mean, a lot of them
always
went to Catholic
kind of
school,
had
different
God
things,
as
and
kind
kind
of
of
her
just fell
backbone.
away.
My
My
other
dad
family hasn't always
mom,
been very filled
my
with
dad
the faith.
in particular, I guess, kind of kept our family going to church on Sundays.
Away.
And I would say that we were
and mom.
a mixture of,
in particular, I guess,
faith was very
like
like a high priority, but also
and I would say that we were
faithful, like especially as
a mixture
Filipinos, like
of
going to church and
faith
mass
was very
just
like
something
a
that
high
we need
priority,
to do.
but also
But it was still something
integration,
super
like,
important as a
culturally
priority in our
faithful,
lives.
like especially as
We weren't like
Filipinos,
I didn't even know what popes were growing up. Like if you asked me as like
something super
a
important
5-year-old,
in our
or
lives.
maybe not 5-year-old, like a
We weren't
10-year-old,
like I didn't
what a
I didn't
pope
even know
was,
what
like,
popes were.
what the heck is that?
Growing up, like
If
if
you
you asked
I
me
just
as,
knew
like,
there was mass, and I had no idea what was
5-year-old
going on, and I knew I had to go.
like a 10-year-old,
But I had no idea what the
what a
concept of
pope was,
faith, what
like,
it meant, or how to
like,
apply it to my
that.
life. It was just something that was a
I
part
just
of my
knew there was
culture.
mass, and I had no idea what was going on.
But
and
for
I knew
my
I had
dad,
to
it was
go.
something super important.
But I had no idea what the concept
And
of faith,
so
what it meant, or how to apply it to my life.
grew
It
up
was
with
just something
that
that was
and
part of my culture.
Definitely was
But-
something that was
but
integrated.
for my dad, was
so yeah,
something
I'd say a
super
mixture of
important.
just
And so
important, culturally Catholic.
grew up with that.
That was
and
kind of my upbringing. We went to mass
definitely
most
was something that was
Sundays.
integrated, but
So yeah,
barely
I'd say a
missed,
mixture of
except
just
if we had like a trip or
important,
something, or went to
culturally
mass like a different day.
That was kind of my
Um,
upbringing. We went to
but
mass for
most
most
Sundays,
part. That's where kind of
Rarely
was.
missed, except if we had like a trip or something, or went to mass like on a different day. But for the most part, that's where kind of was. Literally went to mass when I went to the Philippines, and went to mass like literally as you're exiting, the next group's coming in like on Sunday. So
Literally,
let's say you go to 10 o'clock mass, as you're leaving at the 11 o'clock, the next group is already coming in.
As you're
right
exiting,
time.
the next group's coming
back
in.
to back
on
like the
Sunday.
whole
So
day. Let's say you go to 10
just
o'clock mass,
not
as you're
never
leaving at 11
nonstop.
o'clock, the next group is
Never
already coming
ending
in right at
nonstop
time.
masses
There's
going on.
back to like the whole day, just never nonstop, never ending nonstop masses going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I was about 11 years old, and this is not where it started, but prior to.
So
My dad actually passed away from colon cancer.
about
And for
11 years
me,
old.
That was,
And this is not where it started, but
a
prior to.
a pivotal moment of away from colon cancer, of life, because I'd never experienced loss. I'd never experienced the realities of life and what life meant, and so it was a very because I'd never philosophical I'd never moment for me where like what the heck just happened. The realities of life, because to me, what life meant, in a weird way, like family was like my philosophical and like lowercase God, in the sense that everything in my life revolved around family. To me, was the most important. In a weird way, like family. So to have my dad ripped away from me, like a very in the sense that everything in my life revolved around family. It was the most important thing. I didn't know how to react, and so I went into this very dark place where I just relied on video games as kind of my clutch and my like way to get through life. I didn't know how to react, and so I went into this very dark place where, in a way, it's where I just relied on I tried to find happiness was just like virtual world way to get through life. And so as time went on, kind of living, just going through the motions, in a way, knowing that was kind of where I tried to deeply buried there in my heart, but not really realizing as time went on, how it was affecting living, just going through the motions. So I went to knowing that was kind of my mom took me to a Filipino party at church, not really realizing and this random bald white big dude comes up to me, took me to a Filipino party at church. You want to join youth ministry? And I'm like, bald, white, big dude comes up to me. Who are you? You don't belong here. And so I'm like, what the heck is youth ministry? And, again, telling that story, and I was like, you don't belong here. I'll join. And so this random guy, I'm like, just joining this guy's like youth ministry, whatever that meant. And I had no idea what it was at the time. So I ended up joining. I think he gets my contact information somehow, and I ended up getting invited to all sorts of things. And I had no idea what it was. Service things. So I ended up joining meetings. I think he gets my contact information. So I ended up going on this retreat, and I ended up getting invited to all sorts of things the summer, whether it was like service things. And it was crazy because I've never seen so many high schoolers in one place. It was like a couple hundred. This thing called SCRC. It was crazy because I was blown away because I've never seen so many young people. But what was more confusing about young people gathered for a church event was young people gathered for a church event that really wanted to be there. But what was people were singing, people were excited, laughing, really into these talks that were very relatable, but also just people were piercing my heart what I needed to hear, because to me, I'd gone to church my whole life, and the most exciting thing about church was the fact there was donuts at the end. Piercing my heart what I needed to hear. It's the only thing I looked forward to. To me, I'd gone to church my whole life, and the most exciting thing about church was mind-blowing to realize, like, wow, like donuts at the end. And the faith is actually relevant to my life, and it's something that I should probably pay attention to and should be important because I've been doing this so right. And the faith is actually relevant to my life. At the end of the whole 2-day experience, at the very end of Saturday night, there's this thing called adoration, and so it's where at the end of the whole 2-day experience, at the very end of Saturday night. That was the very first time I heard that Jesus Christ is here. The Eucharist is exposed, and I didn't obviously fully understand that intellectually, but in my heart, I knew that I really wanted it. I really wanted whatever this, and I didn't obviously fully understand that. And so there's a scripture verse that kind of pops into my head whenever I think of that moment. I really wanted it's Philippians 4 verse 5-6 for it, and so there's a scripture verse that kind of pops into my head whenever I think of have no anxiety about anything. It's Philippians 4, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Let your request be made known to God. Have no anxiety about anything. Passes all understanding. But in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your request be made known to God. The request in my heart, all understanding, will keep you in your hearts and your minds in Christ. Happiness, and was this pain that in my heart was filled because of the loss of my dad. That was this void that was so empty. I wanted to be filled with real love. I didn't want this love that was so fleeting, like death, where this void my heart was so in. I loved my family. I loved my dad so much. Real love. I didn't want this love that was so have it taken away from me was like, what's even the point? My heart was so in. I loved my family. I loved my dad so much. And so to have it taken away from me was this idea that God was love, that was everlasting, and this idea that I, as a Catholic, needed to grow in this area. This idea that God was love, and I wanted every bit of it, and I wanted this request to be known, as a Catholic, and this peace to grow in this area didn't make any sense was coming over me, and I just knew I wanted more. And so from that moment, I just strove, and just didn't make any sense. I joined youth ministry leadership as a first year confirmation student. From that moment, as youth ministry, it didn't make sense to me. I was a leader and like involved. I was like church like 3-4 times a night, as a first year confirmation student, and doing all these different things. I was doing anything and everything. I was a leader, and that's kind of like where everything started with me. 3-4 times a week, and doing all these different things. I was doing anything and everything, and that's kind of like where everything started with me in my faith. I was a freshman in high school. So yeah, when I was starting this whole journey, I was a 8th grader going into my freshman year. I was a freshman in high school.
So yeah, when I was starting this whole journey, I was a eighth grader going into my. I was a freshman in high school, freshman year. So. Oh yeah, when I was starting this whole journey, I was a eighth grader going into my freshman year. Oh yeah, when I was starting this whole journey, yeah. Oh yeah, when I was starting this whole journey, yeah. Oh yeah, when I was starting this whole journey, yeah. Oh yeah, when I was starting this whole journey, yeah. Oh yeah, when I was starting this whole journey, oh yeah, when I was starting this whole journey, oh yeah, when I was starting this whole journey, oh yeah, when I was starting this whole journey, oh yeah, when I was starting this whole journey, oh yeah, when I was starting this whole journey, or like a kind of like a different when I was season. Starting this whole journey, or like a kind of like a different season. Yeah, so or like a kind of like a different season. Right. So one of the biggest moments, I mean, so after the whole conversion, like it was like a springtime, I was just really into anything, wanted to get super involved as a high schooler, like evangelizing the faith it was like in a way that was probably not normal for most high schoolers, want to get super involved and really sharing that out, like evangelizing the faith. Afterwards, I kind of like pursued like just doing ministry, and really sharing that, and so I ended up doing like Life Teen Summer Missionary Program for a few 6 weeks, and like my mind was blown away, meeting other Catholics are on fire, but then learning about this joy-filled faith that I just wanted to share, blown away, meeting other Catholics are on fire, and then learning about this joy-filled faith. Continuing that journey is like, okay, what do I want to do with my life? Bring to other people. I was like, I kind of like this ministry route, but I'm also nervous. That journey is like, okay, very like financially. Like, I kind of like this is something I really want to do. But I'm also nervous. And so I ended up financially joining this thing called NET for a year. As where literally I just stopped everything in my life. I took a break from college for a year. Joined this thing called NET spent the entire time going around in like I just stopped 12 passenger in my life. 12 passenger van and a trailer and spent 12 random adults I'd never met prior to this moment. Going doing retreats 3 or 4 times a week with 12 random adults I'd never met prior to this moment. Or doing retreats 4.5 months and then 4 or 5 months after 9 months straight. And so it was this thing where I was just like living, breathing ministry. 4 or 5 months after that. Halfway through the ministry year, it was this thing where I was just like living, breathing ministry. I remember having this halfway through the ministry year, and it was my dad's 10th year anniversary that year. Having this prayer time, and I remember, and it was my dad's just really struggling 10th year anniversary that year. Why is it? And I remember that after 10 years, just really struggling. I'm still so heartbroken by this. Why is it? Like, why does my heart still break 10 years later for the loss of my dad? I'm still so heartbroken by this. And I don't know if it was necessarily like the question where you say like faith was tested, but it was definitely a moment of just like why is this? I don't know if it was like I know that the question. I believe in God. Was tested, but it was definitely I know that He's there. Like why? And I know that He's gonna take care of me. And I know that I believe in God. He is my everything. I know that I live and breathe because of Him, and I know that He's gonna take care of me and with Him. And I know that. But why is my heart so broken after this? Because of Him. And so, during this time, there was this prayer moment. But why is my heart so broken after this? The leaders there praying over me. During this time, there was this prayer moment. This thought came to my head. I remember just thinking, okay, the leaders there praying over me. Or God just speaking very clearly to me, Gerrick, like, and I remember just thinking, okay, like, those 10 years you spent longing for your dad, very clear to me, Gerrick, you like, was used to help 10 find years you spent longing for your heavenly Father. And it was this crazy thing where to help find. I mean, he was right. Your heavenly Father. I was so. It was this crazy hungry thing and desperate to share the faith. He was right. But a lot of it was influenced. I was so my desperateness of like hungry, wanting to know my Father. And wanting a lot other of it was people to know my Father for my desperateness of because like in my mind to know my Father, I wanted to give everything to people. I wanted to give to know my Father people this faith or share this faith because in my mind, there was nothing better. I wanted to give everything. Like to I could give Gerrick. But the thing about giving Gerrick is that Gerrick is sometimes lazy. He's late to things. He procrastinates a lot. I could give Gerrick. And honestly, like, I mean, I'm not perfect. I have so many flaws. He's late to things. But if I could give faith, or be an instrument to give faith, I mean, I'm not perfect. Then like I could give the world to somebody. Something that was so beautiful and amazing. Or be an instrument to give if they were to experience it, there was just I could give the world to somebody. Something that was so beautiful and amazing. This desperate hunger for my dad. If they were to experience it, there was just nothing better. I didn't realize was also when I was finding my hunger for my dad. And it was just so fulfilling to know that. I didn't realize was also when I did have my dad. I mean, he was here, and though it wasn't my earthly father, and though I miss him, and I'm excited for the day I get to reunite with him. I did have my dad. I mean, he was here. My earthly father's taken such good care of me, and has been there for me every step of the way, providing for me whenever I needed. My earthly father, whatever I needed, things I didn't know I needed. Has been and in ways that I just never understood. Providing for me whenever I needed. That's kind of for whatever I needed. A mixture of like a reminder to me that I just never understood. And that's kind of I guess of this ongoing conversion, but also I mean there's these struggles and these things, and I think that God does provide. I guess of this ongoing conversion. Why am I still longing for something deeper when I already know that it's intellectually, but I guess God does provide these reasons. Like why am I still longing for something deeper when I already know that it's intellectually, but I guess in my heart I didn't know it fully yet. Am I still longing for something deeper when I already know that it's intellectually, but I guess in my heart I didn't know it fully yet. Am I still longing for something deeper when I already know that it's intellectually, but I guess in my heart I didn't know it fully yet. Am I still longing for something deeper when I already know that it's intellectual heart I didn't know it fully. It solidified, I guess, a confidence in God. That it solidified, I guess. I mean, I already knew that I wanted to give everything to Him, but it solidified this thing that I mean, I guess for the rest of my life, that knew there was nothing I wanted to give everything to Him, but I wanted this thing more than is to live. I guess for the rest of my life, that it's kind of like where I guess in this path for ministry, I wanted and path for just wanting my life to live for Christ. I just wanted to reflect that in every which way, that no matter what I did, no matter where I went, like if God wasn't a part of it, I just wanted it to reflect that in every which way, that no matter what I did, no matter where I went, a funny way of looking at it is if God wasn't a part of it. Over one summer, I think the summer before I joined Net, I was selling a funny way of looking at it is the blight. It's a blight in my history, but I remember going to people and like very eloquently and very like warmly. It's a blight in my history. People would like. I remember going to really be interested. Like I do a pretty good pitch and very like warmly, but I felt so guilty. People would heart was like really be interested. Gerrick, how dare you use this gift that God gave you? But I felt to get people to buy money from you, like to give you money. Gerrick, how dare you? I knew that I needed the money for college and for my future, but I was like, I felt so wrong, and not that I knew that needed the money for college and all that stuff like that. But I was like, good job for you people that earn crap ton of money more than I do. Not that anything's wrong about money. For me, like stuff like that. It felt wrong that I knew that these gifts that had been given from God and these gifts and talents I knew that God it felt wrong that I knew that these gifts that had been given from God, there's just nothing else could use it for except for Him, and so I just know formed me that I guess from that experience use it for except for Him, and so one that I just know my testimony had changed. I guess from that experience, and that it wasn't just the kid that lost his father and now needed something to replace it. I mean, it wasn't just that. It was more than that for sure. But it wasn't just my testimony from that moment was that to replace it. I mean, it wasn't just that. I'm constantly wanting to pursue this Father that loves me, and from that moment was and wanting to share that love in a greater way than I ever did before. This Father that loves me, and it's an ongoing conversion. I think it's not just like in a greater way than I ever did. It's ongoing change. I think. And it does give me a little bit. It does give me a little bit of an identity crisis in a way, because ongoing change. I think. And it does. When people ask my testimony, it's like, oh yeah, this is my testimony. It's like because. But is that my testimony? I mean, that's my initial testimony. But ask my testimony, it's like, oh yeah, this is my testimony. It's not everything anymore. Like, it's not. I know there's more to what I'm searching for, but it's not. It's still so crazy. It's not everything to kind of think about. It's not. I know there's more to what I'm searching for, but it's still so crazy to kind of think about. Oh, dang. I wasn't that good. 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 Oh, dang. I wasn't that. I was just gonna say, like, I mean, I tell teens this all the time as a high school youth minister that, you know, I mean, Jesus went on retreats. He went on retreats all the time to refresh and get renewed and to be recharged all the time as a high school. But he never stayed in the mountains. He always came back down to share the good news. Jesus went on retreats. He went on retreats all the time. I mean, that's it. Refresh and get renewed. I mean, I love retreats and I live and die by them. So, but yeah, we can't live in the mountains. We have to come down to reality at some point. Retreats. I mean, I live and die by them. So, but back down to share the good news. And so, yeah, we can't live in the mountains. I mean, that's it. I mean, we have to come down to reality at some point. Retreats. I mean, I love retreats and I live and die by them. So, but back down to share the good news. And so, yeah, we can't live in the mountains. I mean, that's it. I mean, we have to come down to reality at some point. Retreats. I mean, I love retreats and I live and die by them. So, but back down to share the good news. And so, yeah, we can't live in the mountains. I mean, that's it. I mean, and I live and die by them. So, but back down to share the good news. And so, I mean, that's it. I mean, and I live and die by them. So, but back down to share the good news. And so, I mean, that's it. I mean, and I live and die by them. So, but back down to share the good news. And I mean, that's it. I mean, and I live and die by them. So, but back down to share the good news. And so, I mean, that's it. I mean, and I live and die by them. So, but yeah, I think it's text home. I mean, that's it. 274-1741. Yeah, I think. And if you need a phone call, there's a crisis hotline. Call 1-800-273-8255. And if you need a phone call, there's a crisis hotline. Call 1-800-HOME 274-273-8255. 1-741-8255. And if you need a phone call, there's a crisis hotline. Call 1-800-HOME 274-273-8255. 1-741-8255. And if you need a phone call, there's a crisis hotline. Call 1-800-HOME 274. Something about me. And if you need a phone call, there's a crisis hotline. Constantly. Call 1-800. It's one of those things that's a recurring something struggle, about me, I think. That I've. But with so much confidence in God. It's one of those things that's a recurring. Sometimes with confidence struggle gives me like a lot of laziness. But with so much confidence in God. In the sense that. Sometimes I depend so much on gifts and talents or on this grace that sometimes I'm just like, well, I don't have to do anything because God's just going to take care of it. I depend so much on gifts and talents. I could plan for this retreat. God's got this. The Holy Spirit's going to be there. So, like, well, I don't have to do anything because God's just going to take care of it. Who cares about the details? Yeah, I could plan for this retreat. God's got this. The Holy Spirit's going to be there. But it's in the details, I think, that I really struggle. Not just on like a planning retreat youth ministry level, but I think that on like a personal level. Not just on like a planning retreat youth. It's when I was doing that ministry a long time ago, one of the that I really struggled. Craziest parts of it was, when I was any job, they had me sign a contract. When I was doing that ministry a long time ago, and in that contract was that every single day, you had to pray for at least 30 minutes of personal prayer. And in that contract, not just spout a rosary for 15 minutes, but you actually have to like whether it's in silence, whether it's going to chapel, and in that whether a rosary was part of it, but it had to be 30 minutes every single day, as well as a team prayer. Whether a rosary was part of it, so every single day, but it had to be 30 minutes every single day. Doesn't matter when, no matter how late or how early it had to happen. Whether a rosary was part of it. So if I ever broke the every matter when prayer, it was also breaking the contract to happen to my ministry I was working with. So if I ever broke the matter when, that being said, you go 9 months of praying to my ministry I was working with every single day with your team and personally. That being said, missing a few 9 months, like of course, but for the most part, every single day with your team, you really know what it feels like not to pray. Missing a few, and so sometimes for me, every single day with your team lost, and feels like not to pray. Become so lazily or gone through the emotions so much, I become so I really feel the loss of not being close to God, or not feeling close to God, or knowing that I'm not really close to God. And not that it's about a feeling, but my action of not praying or not knowing that I'm not being close to Him. And not that it's about a feeling. I'm going to take it a step further. But my action of not praying or not being close to Him, how much not praying is hurting me. But my action, and I know the feeling, I know what's happening, and not only that, I know how to get out of it. I know that what I need to do right now is stop what I'm doing. I know what's happening. And not only that, but despite me knowing all these different things, I know that what I need to do, right? I know the feeling, and knowing that what's happening. Prayer. In a way, I'm walking towards hell. Like, not that God is merciful and all loving, but in my head, it's like I know what I need to do to be close to God and closer to God. I know what I need to do. God is merciful and all loving, but in my head, but despite knowing all this, knowing the pains of hell, different things, I still just don't want to do it. But despite knowing, like I still want to just reject God. Like through my actions, just don't want to do it. Despite knowing it, despite preaching it, despite saying it, reject God. Like I just through my actions, like despite knowing to reject Him, and I'm not sure if it comes from a place of there's something deeper and broken inside of me, and there could be want to reject Him, or if it's just because like God is really taking everything, taking away so much of this, like. Or if it's just because, I guess, like, the emotion out of really it, there's something deeper and broken inside of me, and I'm giving you the full choice just to choose me. I guess the emotion out of it. There's nothing. I'm not making this easy for you at all. Like, there's no emotion. There's no like.
there's no whatever.
I'm not
it's like
making this
you just
easy
have
for you
Garrick.
at
You
all.
just have
Like,
the
there's
full
no
choice
emotion
here. Because I mean, and something that I've mentioned earlier,
there's
like
no whatever. It's like, you
this
just
faith
have
is
Garrick,
all
you
about
just have the
choices.
full
Every
choice
single
here.
moment, every single day, like it's a
there's
choice.
really like there's
As a
faith
choice to
is all
build
about
virtue.
choices. Every single moment,
And
every single
God
day,
is really,
like it's a
and at least
really
for
like,
me, and I'm not sure for any of you,
His faith is all about
is
choices.
really
Every single
given
moment,
me the full
God
choice.
is really,
I feel like,
and at least for
to
me,
just
and I'm not sure
choose
for any of
Him
you,
every single day.
is really,
And it's actually
given
such
me
a
the full
struggle to be given
choice,
that
I
full
feel like.
choice.
To
Like
just
to know that
choose
God
Him
has given
every
me this
single day.
ability to just choose
And
Him
it's
without
actually such a
any
full
thing,
choice, I feel
like saying that I have
to
to.
just choose
like
Him
in my
every
mind,
single
it's like I
ability
could
to
totally
choose
just
Him
like
without any
right
thing.
now I could just totally
Like, say
drop
that
everything
to
and
just
just walk
choose
off
Him every single
and
it's like, I
live
could totally
my
just,
like
right
ambitions
now,
and
I
my
could just totally
sinfulness
drop
and just like
everything and
bask
just
in
walk
it.
off. And it's like,
And I could also
could
do the
totally
opposite.
just like
I could also just like
right
totally
now, I could just totally
give my
drop
life
and
to
just,
God
like,
every
bask
single
in it.
day. And I think I
And I
feel
could
like
also do
honestly
the
right now in my
opposite. I
life,
could
like
also
every single day
right
I'm given
now,
that
I could
choice.
just totally drop to
And it's
God
so
every
hard
single
because
day.
I just lack
And
the
I think I
fortitude
feel like
and will
honestly right now in my
sometimes
life,
to
like right now, I could
to-
just totally drop, and it's so
to
hard
choose it
because I just
sometimes.
lack the fortitude and the
because
will
He's given
sometimes
me
to
so
just-
much of a choice. I feel like,
and
and it's not
so
that He's
hard
not
because I just
giving me
lack-
grace. I know
because
I
He's
know
given
it,
me
and
so
I know
much
His
of a
love,
choice, I feel
and
like.
I rely on it so
Like,
often
and
when
it's
I'm
not that He's not
in a dark place.
giving me grace,
but
I
on
know-
just
I
a
know
daily
it,
choice
and I
to
know it's a
love
choice,
and
I
to be
feel like.
loved and to
Like,
love
often when
better
I'm in
than I did
a dark
yesterday.
place, but on just
It's
a
so
daily
hard
choice
sometimes.
to love a choice, I feel like often when I'm in a dark place better than I did yesterday. It's so hard sometimes, but on just a daily choice to love, like often when I'm in a dark place better than I did yesterday. It's so hard sometimes, but on just a daily choice to love, yeah, better than I did yesterday. It's so hard sometimes, but on just a daily choice to love, yeah, better than I did yesterday. It's so hard sometimes, but on just a daily choice to love, settling in the bliss versus living in like truth. It's so hard sometimes, and like that reality. Settling in the bliss versus living in like truth and love and like that reality. Settling in the bliss versus living in like truth and love and I was living. I did something a retreat a few days ago, and like it was asking like where I was sometimes. And
I did something.
I think one of the things I said was like fighting
a few days ago,
in the sense of like
I know very much
like
that there's a war going
and
on for my soul.
I think
right
one of
now.
the things I said
there's
was
a war
like fighting
going on,
in the
and
sense of like I know very much like there's a war going on.
Sometimes I
for
just
my soul
rather
right now. Like there's a
like,
war going on.
just walk away from
And,
it.
Like instead of fighting the war
Sometimes I
and the
just
battle that's
rather,
happening and knowing
like,
it's happening and
just
just
walk away from
this
it,
war
you know?
for salvation, this
instead
war
of
for
fighting
eternity.
the war
and the battle
like this
that's
war that literally
happening and
determines
knowing it's
where you
happening
go
and
for
this-
eternity. And
this
it's like
war for
eh,
salvation.
I'd rather
this war
just
for
like
eternity.
walk
Like,
over
this
here
war that literally
and
determines
just
where
pretend
you
it's
go
not
for
happening
eternity.
sometimes.
And it's like
because it's just easier.
I'd rather just
Um,
like walk over here.
I mean,
and
a simple
just
analogy,
pretend
because
it's
I
not
know we're
happening
talking very like
sometimes, 'cause it's
spiritual
just
and
easier.
philosophical in a way,
Um,
but it's like
I mean,
I could
a
love
simple
my
analogy
wife.
because I know we're talking
I could
very,
love
spiritual
my
and
kids.
philosophical in a way.
But instead of
it's like,
doing that, I'm
you
just gonna
know,
ignore them.
I
and
could
pretend they're
love my
not there.
wife.
And
I could love
my
just-
kids.
But
I
instead
know
of
you
doing
need.
that,
I
I'm
know
just
you
gonna
want love
ignore
right
them
now,
and
wife.
pretend
But
they're
I'm
not
just gonna
there.
go and
And,
sleep right
you
now
know,
because it's just easier.
And
I know
it's
you
like
need-
that
I know you
reality
want love
that
right now,
you know,
wife, but I'm just
instead of
gonna go
facing
and,
it,
sleep right
it's like
now
it's easier to
because
run
it's
away
just
from
easier.
it sometimes.
And
it's like that
and
reality.
it's not like,
you
oh
know,
man, you ignore
instead
your
of
wife one
facing
time
it,
and now you're gonna go
it's
to
like
hell.
it's
Like,
easier to run
no,
away
it's
from
not
it
that.
sometimes. And-
But I
it's
I
it's
firmly
not like,
believe that
oh, man,
divorce
you ignore your wife
divorces
one
don't
time
happen
and now you're
overnight.
gonna go
They
to hell.
happen
Like, no, it's not that.
because
But I
day in and
firmly
day
believe
out
that
you kept
divorces
rejecting the
don't
decision
happen
to love.
overnight. They happen
And it's like one of those
because
things where you
day
know
in and day
I
out
could have
you
loved
kept
you that day,
rejecting
but I
the
chose not
decision
to.
to love.
That's fine. I
And
forgave each other, but I
it's
did
like
it
one of
again
those
and I
things
did it
where,
again.
you
And
know,
at some point,
I
because
could've
I just
loved you that
failed to
day,
love
but I
so
chose
much,
not
I just
to. That's fine.
decided not
I
to forgive
forgave
anymore
each other, but I
because
did
I
it
just
again and
stopped
I did it
learning
again.
knowing how to love.
And at some
you know?
point, because I just failed to love
And I'm not
so
saying it's
much,
every
I just
situation. I just
decided not to
that's an
forgive anymore
analogy
because
that
I just
I think
stopped
is
learning
sometimes
knowing how
true.
to love, you know.
At least for
And
me.
I'm not saying it's every situation. That's an analogy that I think is sometimes true. Stop learning knowing how to love, you know. At least for me. And I'm not saying it's every situation. That's an analogy that I think is sometimes true. Stop knowing how to love, you know? At least for me. And I'm not saying it's every situation. It's an analogy that I think is sometimes true. At least for me. I was going to say, like, I would say pray, but then if I'm at my house by myself and it's been a long day, I just got out of work. I was going to say, like, I would say pray, and I'm by myself. If I'm at my house by myself, do I pray, or do I go play video games? Or do I go and take a nap and not, just ignore that moment? Or by myself, in the morning, do I hit snooze, or do I give God that glory for that first moment of the day? Or do I go play video games? Or do I go and what's my choice? I'm not saying that you have to do that, but in the morning, do I hit snooze? That's just it. Like, God is love, and just like your relationship, like, love is loving. What's my choice? I'm not saying that frequently you have to do and often that, as much as possible, because it changes the both like God of you. Is love, just as much as that loving God changes. Love is loving. It's not that you change to love God. It's like loving God changes you as much as possible, because it changes the both of you. Just as much as that loving God changes. It's not that you change to love God frequently and often as much as possible. It's like loving God changes you. Also because it changes the both of you. God changes. It's not that you change to love God. It's like loving God changes you. Also because it changes the both of you. God changes. It's not that you change to love God. It's like loving God changes you. Also because it changes the both of you. Right. And it's so crazy because, like, the more I think about it, it's like it literally applies to everything. Like, you have a choice to do this with your friendships. Right. Like, and it's so crazy because, like, the more the type of friend that you want to be for somebody else, everything. Like it's very much lived in the way that you love each other. Like, how do you sacrifice to make that the type of friend that you want to be for conversation? Whether it's just very much being there, listening ear, or how do you sacrifice buying them that coffee because it's just they're having a low point in their day, and sacrificing a little bit of financial being there, listening ear, or even buying them that coffee because it's just like having honestly for me is where I first it's one of those first opportunities to love siblings and parents, because you're born into it. Honestly for me, and you developed how to love. And honestly, sometimes the way that I love other people is the way that I love my siblings and my parents, and I see that reflected. And you developed how to love. And honestly, first, it's one of those first opportunities other people is the way that I love my opportunities to love siblings and parents, because you siblings and my parents, and I see that you're born into it, and you developed reflected in that. How to love. And honestly, sometimes the way that I love first, it's one of those first opportunities other people is the way that I love my opportunities to love siblings and parents, because you siblings and my parents, and I see that you're born into it, and you developed reflected in that. How to love. And honestly, sometimes the way that I love first, it's one of those first opportunities other people is the way that I love my opportunities to love siblings and parents, because you siblings and my parents, and I see that you're born into it, and you developed reflected in that. How to love. And honestly, sometimes the way that I love first, it's one of those first opportunities other people is the way that I love my opportunities to love siblings and parents, because you siblings and my parents, and I see that you're born into it, and you developed reflected in that. How to love. And honestly, sometimes the way that I love first, it's one of those first opportunities other people is the way that I love my opportunities to love siblings and parents, because you siblings and my parents, and I see that you're born into it, and you developed reflected in that. How to love. And honestly, sometimes the way that I love other people is the way that I love my siblings and my parents, and I see that reflected in that. With loss, I'm gonna answer it in like a type of way where, if you are someone that knows someone that's lost somebody, I'm gonna answer it in like a go reach out to them. Way where, if you are someone that they really could use it right now, somebody. And I know sometimes it's easy for that person to hide it behind, like, oh, I'm okay. They really could use it right now. But the companionship of having someone else there, I know sometimes it's easy for that person to hide it behind, like, oh, I'm okay. It makes the world of a difference. Knowing that you're loved, especially when you feel someone else there, the one that you loved is gone. Time and time again, makes the world of a difference. Knowing that you're loved, especially when you feel on one end, like, if you know somebody that's lost somebody, reach out and make that effort. I mean, show up to that funeral if you didn't know them that very well. Show up, somebody that's lost, take them to lunch, out, have that conversation, pray with them, because show up to that funeral. That could be the moment. Show up that they could really use it. Actually, honestly, have that praying with somebody with them, because is what changed me. Because I don't even realize it, but I prayed for my dad so many times. Actually, honestly, that changed my heart so much. Is what changed me, because and then for somebody that I prayed for my dad lost somebody, and that changed my heart so much. Be honest with God with how you're feeling.
I think there's a moment where I was like years later after I lost him. I was sitting like I think in this corner of the room right here. I wasn't even in my room because this wasn't my room at the time. I think there's a moment where I was like years later after I lost him because I was so pissed that I just like I think in this corner of the room right here. I wasn't even in my room because this wasn't my room at the time. Be honest with your prayer, with how you're feeling. I was so pissed that I just like and do that with both. Be honest with God and be honest with other people with how you're feeling with your prayer, with how you're feeling. That will help tremendously. And do that with both. Be that on the flip side with those decisions. People with how you're feeling. Pray for the grace to do it. Those decisions. At the end of the day, after everything I was saying, and I forget myself, is that pray for the grace to do what you can. At the end of the day, after everything I was saying, and I forget myself, is that us relying on God for everything to do what means relying Him on everything, even when you can't make decisions. Maybe you literally can't. Maybe I'm talking about making these decisions and choices, but maybe honestly, you can't make decisions. We just can't do it by ourselves. Because I'm trying to do it by myself. And so when you're having trouble making a decision, because I'm trying to do it by myself. Ironically, pray for the grace having trouble making decisions. You know, like pray to pray. God, in this prayer, help me to pray to you. You know, pray to pray. God, because God, in this prayer, help me to pray to you. Pray to pray. Rely on God for everything and everything. God, in this prayer, help me to pray to you. That's what you gotta do. Prayer and supplication. Rely on God for everything and everything. Peace. That's what you gotta do. You won't even understand why peace is coming. Pray to pray. You won't understand why that peace is coming. So understand. Pray to pray. You won't even understand why that peace is coming. So pray to pray. No problem. Glad. Hey, thank you for everything you're doing and continuing to share the good news, but also thank you for everything you're doing and others continuing to share the good news. But also thank you for everything you're doing and others continuing to share the good news, but also inspire others to grow in virtue because that's so important. And thank you for just actually living it out too, because it's one thing to talk about, but thank you for just making the effort to try to live it out. Because it's one thing to talk about, but thank you for just actually living it out too. Because it's one thing to talk about, but thank you for making the effort to try to live it out. I watch you all the time. No, I watch you all the time. Someone made it for me, okay? I just am way too lazy to change it. Someone made it for me, okay? I just am way too lazy to change it. Someone made it for me, okay? I just am way too lazy to change it. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core members. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core members. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core... Yeah. Members. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Members. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core. Yeah. Members. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core. Yeah. Members. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or if you want to be one of my core. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core.
Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to be one of my core. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You are loved. I love you. Have a good night. Pray to pray. I love you. Have a good night. You are loved. Pray to pray. Have a good night. Pray to pray. I love you. Have a good night. You are loved. Pray to pray. Have a good pray to pray. Falling in love. You are loved. Falling in love. Falling in love. Keep living ardently. See you guys. See you guys. See you guys. See you guys. See you guys.